Hello there everybody, this is Alex from Hardcorian Guides, bringing you my guide for South Park, The Stick of Truth, on hardcore difficulty, and we're also doing no child left behind, no healing, and no items run. So, one thing I want to get out of the way real quick is that there will be times in this game, especially during like the training sessions of this game, where you will pretty much be forced to use an item or use a healing. So, in the first fight with Craig, you have to use... No, that wasn't Craig. It was the first fight with Clyde, sorry. When you're fighting Clyde for the first time, you have to use a potion to heal yourself, because I'm pretty sure you're supposed to. I don't know any way around it. I mean, maybe not taking damage, but even then, I think no matter how much damage you take, I think you still have to do it, so... Then you have a point in time where Butters will use his ability. So, you know, his healing ability. And then, of course, at the end of the game, when you're fighting the final boss, you don't have enough mana. Even if I kept all my mana throughout the entire game, pretty much. And even then, still, I pretty much had to use a mana potion in order to, you know, get enough mana to, well, fart on Princess Kenny's balls. So, there is that. Also, this won't necessarily be a 100% run. I'm going to try my hardest to get everything. I think I got all the gym Pokemon. I don't know if I got all the friends. So, don't expect like a complete 100% run or anything. But I will be getting, you know, level 15, and I will be getting as much of the perks that I possibly can. Because with the friends, like, there comes a point with the friends that you won't be able to get everything past a certain amount of friends that you have. So, I'll explain that later, probably, hopefully. So, anyway, there are 4 classes. I won't be going over every single class. I'm going to be playing the Fighter or Warrior class, I think it was called. I don't remember. I can't believe me. Can't believe I'm being like this. So, I'm pretty sure it's called Fighter, if I remember correctly. And, anyway, I won't be going over every single detail of every single class, but I will be going over the class that I do pick. You can, in technicality, pick pretty much almost any class. I've already done this run twice, and I've done it with one with Mage, and I found that you could do it. And I have done it with, of course, Fighter, which you'll see here, and I will, of course, be showing how exactly to do all that. So, yeah, it was Fighter. I do want to say that it's been a little bit of a while since I've done some recording, so I'm kind of a little bit on the rusty side of things. So just ignore my commentary. I also just ate as well, so you might hear me, you know, stop talking for a bit because, well, food, digesting, and all that other gross stuff we don't need to talk about. Anyway, so, yeah, you can't really buy much equipment. I think you can only really buy just the main sword, which luckily for us, we get a nice little sword here that gives us more damage depending on our armor, which is nice to have. And I actually can't really see this as well. I'm going to try to pull it up a little bit bigger. Alright, there we go. Trying to find, hopefully that doesn't mess with the video too much, but I can barely see this stuff. So, basically just look at my perks for what I have, and you guys could figure out what, you know, I'm running and stuff, so. But yeah, 1 armor, let's see, perfect attack, I didn't read that. Perfect attack increases by 1, or, maybe it's probably like the armor one. Well, anyway, you got to see that, so this will probably end up being more of a visual guide than an actual audio guide, because I probably won't explain every little bit in detail. I wanted to at first, but then I decided that's just really not really worth it, honestly. So, I think for the weapon I have, you get ability up for every perfect attack, if I'm not mistaken. Unless that's... I don't think that's a class-specific thing, but I'm pretty sure that must be a sword. You know, whatever sword that I'm pretty much running with, so... And now we're fighting Clyde, and he's, of course, going to be the tutorial boss. And the tutorial is going to do what it normally does. I'm only showing off the tutorial to begin with, so I can give you guys an idea of what abilities I'm using. And all that other fun stuff. So Assault and Battery is one of the skills or the abilities that I'm going to be using the least. It just kind of is whatever. It does have some nice, okay upgrades later on where it can actually go through enemies, but at the end of, like, I think like the 4th upgrade of it, you get the ability to have life drain, or life steal, where you can heal HP for every attack, and we're not doing that in this run. Anything that gives me any sort of green numbers in terms of my health are a no-no for this run. However, whenever you finish a battle and you start regenerating health, then that's perfectly fine because it's outside of battle. But as long as I don't use items or don't even use, you know, anything specific like just any sort of healing at all, then it's fine. But I mean, I can't avoid the ones that can't be avoided, so yeah. This game isn't really necessarily hard. I'm making it harder. Hardcore difficulty isn't really what I would consider difficult much. But, you know, if you're doing something like I'm doing, then maybe it probably is. But anyway, eventually we'll get the inspectability and I'll show off all that stuff later. But there's just so much to talk about in so little time. It's ridiculous. What else was I going to explain? Crap, I just forgot about it too. Damn it. It was something important. I know it was. But my brain is just not working right now. But at least we got a new weapon. We got the Bow of Sucking, which I think is actually good against armor. That's the thing too, is like I would probably explain all the small little details about every little thing, but I assume that if you're watching this for a guide, you've probably at least played the game once before. Granted, you could play on hardcore the first time and be okay, but even then, still, I think most people are probably going to play on hardcore and go for the No Child Left Behind thing. Then I'm pretty sure that, well, you know, they probably have played the game at least once, unless you're trying to do a full, you know, platinum or full achievement run or whatever you're doing. I know I was going to explain. So, No Child Left Behind, for those that don't know, it's essentially you have to finish every fight without your buddy dying. And I'm also going to be including myself. So if I happen to die in a fight, I restart the checkpoint and I redo the fight over, because I don't want anybody to necessarily die at all. And when I mean, I don't know if No Child Left Behind also included the player character. I think it just includes just the buddies. But regardless if it's buddies or not, I'm just going to go ahead and count myself with it. So I'm not here trying to help you guys necessarily get the trophy specifically or achievement. I'm just doing it because I want to make a more interesting and fun run. But if this somehow helps you get it, I guess, then that's fine. But I guess if anything, I can give you kind of a little bit of a tip beforehand if anybody's going for the No Child Left Behind, is you want to get the perk ability of being able to revive at full health. So whenever your buddy goes down, just revive them, and then they should have full health and you should be okay. Because this game gives you a lot of stuff. You get a lot of money. You just get a lot of stuff. You get a lot of items. You get a lot of revive potions. It's quite constant with giving you something to kind of, you know, battle the system well, which the game isn't really, like I said, it's not really necessarily hard at all, which is fine by me. I still think this is a glorious game, and I did all this in essentially just one run. So here we have our skills. We have Assault and Battery, which basically you deal additional attacks on perfect success, and level 2 gives us improved batting technique, increases your damage, stun targets, take additional damage, restore HP, blah, blah, blah. You know what? I'm going too quick. You know, you guys pause it. Rochambeau is what I'm going to go for. So basically it allows you to stun enemies, and then level 2 gives me, on a perfect success, I can basically do a follow-up that ignores armor, but it's only the follow-up that ignores armor. And eventually Charge Rush will get, can actually have armor and remove shields. This is just perfect as hell. And then this one is the one I think I fully upgrade later, which is a Horn of Irritation, which basically pretty much gives you ability up and then like gives them ability down, which abilities are, of course, like the magic stuff that we're doing. But just read all of these, and then like as we go through the game, you'll see which ones I purchase. So, and then I'll also be showing off all the perks and stuff, but I just noticed that I'm going through that stuff so quick that I don't feel like literally talking and reading off every single one as fast as possible. So just if you see something, then just look at it and then you'll go from there. But my best advice for any class is when it comes to like the upgrades for your skills and stuff, most of the time every class has like some type of similar upgrades where you'll eventually get to the point where you can like destroy armor or destroy shields. Armor is the thing that you want to go for the most. And of course, like status ailments and like debuffs and buffs are another thing that you want to go for too. Even though we're playing fighter and he's relatively a close like melee range fighter, it doesn't really matter because I'm going to be going for that stuff anyway. So this is Butters. He has a passive ability of all people, and it basically makes it to where enemies are more likely to attack him, so they already pretty much have a sort of pissed effect. Butters' Healing Touch, we're not going to be using it. It heals you. Hammer of Butters basically makes the enemy pissed. Good against armor, of course. I don't think it goes through it necessarily, but it's good against it. And then you have the Hammer of Storms, or whatever it's called. And with that, it basically attacks 2 enemies in a row. And it's good against people that are weak to shock, which there are, you know, actual elements in this game, like shock, fire, and frost. And there are the buffs and debuffs, like ability up, you know, ability down, attack up, attack down, you know, you shields. And again, I'm just kind of expecting that everybody knows what the system in this game works like, so I don't probably have to explain everything, but just as a little grasp. And I have to speak so quickly, but luckily I have an hour to speak, which is nice, so I probably could just slow down. Gross Out, which I don't think can be stacked, but Gross Out basically causes enemies to take damage over time. It goes through armor. I believe so. Oh yeah, and for some reason my game just glitched up here. I don't know. It's just weird like that. So Gross Out I don't think stacks. Bleeding stacks up to I think 5, and it's essentially the same thing where like enemies take damage over time. Like every time they do their turn, they take damage. Burning is the same thing with bleeding, where you take damage over time. After they do a turn, they take damage or whatever, or you do, depending on who has it. And then you have another one, which is Frost, which essentially slows down the enemy, which allows them to, I think like every other turn, they'll actually lose their turn. There's Stun, which makes them lose a turn. There's Sleep, which makes them lose a turn until you hit them and wake them up. With Stun, you can hit them even while they're stunned and they won't wake up from it, which is nice. And there's another one. I'm trying to remember what it was off the top of my head. Oh yeah, Haste. Haste is a weird one because you don't really have a lot of classes that use it. I think Thief is like the only one I can think of that has Haste, from what I've read. And I also read that if you get the Mug ability for Thief class up to like level 3, you can actually use it to completely destroy, you know, Princess Kenny. I'm going to be spoiling stuff too, so I mean, that's already been, yeah. I forgot what upgrade that was, but there you go. I got it, so I don't feel like going back to look at it and screwing up the entire video just because. But yeah, just look at my perks. You know, if you really want to do this challenge yourself, I mean, again, my best advice is work on getting your armor up, if you can. If you can't, then oh well. Depending on your class, of course. If you're playing mage, just upgrade the fire ability. It's really good. The main thing you want to focus on is destroying enemies' armor. You want to make sure that you knock their armor down as much as you can, because their armor is their defense. And the more you knock that stuff down, the better off you are. Also, get good at Professor Chaos's ability, or, you know, Butters' ability, Professor Chaos, which allows you to do, like, the roulette slot spin machine thing, which it has, like, a plethora of different abilities. And he has a lifesteal one, which I'm going to be, if I ever use the lifesteal on that, that counts toward me using healing. So I'm just, you know, I just restart the fight over. This is as honest as I can get for this stuff. So you'll see every fight, and it's glory. You won't see me doing any healing or anything like that. You shouldn't. The only time I ever heal again or use items is when the game basically makes it to where I can't continue without doing it. So that's just the nature of the game. But yeah, get good at using the Professor Chaos roulette wheel. I think you stop exactly when you see what you want, and I recommend going for Chaos Cloak, especially in the final boss fight, because the Chaos Cloak gives you like 9 shield, and shield is extremely important in this game, especially in like at least like 2 fights. I know I say like, oh, it's incredibly important, but like it's not for every fight, but still, even then, it is immensely important for at least those 2 fights, and that's the visitor fight at the end of that dungeon, and that's also the Kenny fight. So So now we're going to be fighting all the different variants of the elves. We have the Elven Protector, which pretty much is just like the more defensed up type guy. And then, I don't remember all their names, so I do apologize. But yeah, you see I'm trying to cancel it out, but I can't, so... Healing Touch, I had to. Butters, for some reason, loses a turn, even though that's not really technically what happens. I don't know, he says like he's tired. It's weird. So now, with 7 cost of Hammer of Justice, Hammer of Storms, there are enemies that are weak to Hammer of Storms, and I think it is actually the Elven Archer that might be weak to Shock. I don't remember, but yeah, I fudged that one up pretty bad. Oh, so it's Bruiser, I think that was the first guy. So you have Bowman, not Archer. You have Bowman, and then you have the Naturalist, or what do you want to call him? So yeah, now we have Bleeding, and it's stacked to 2. It can go up to 5. Yeah, he's weak to Frost. Let's see. Eventually, Elven Protector, weak to Frost. They take 50% more damage. Bruiser, he's weak to fire. Priest is weak to fire, and he's weak to fire as well. But the problem with barbed wires, or just barbed, shots, is they can cause bleeding. And technically, I probably could have avoided using the Cure Potion if I had blocked better. Which, that's the thing, too, is enemies can only really necessarily cause you some sort of, like, status ailment, like bleeding, gross out, and all that other stuff, if they were to essentially go through your block command. So for the most part, you can block that stuff. But yeah, this is what shields do. Shields are quite powerful. Shields are different than armor because shields allow you to take any type of damage and just sort of just negate most of it, if not all of it. However, you can still be affected by buffs and debuffs even with a shield on. You can tell it's a shield if they have, like, a number on the left side of their, bar. It should be pretty obvious, but... And then on the top right, you saw that guy had, like, 20, and it looked like a helmet with horns on it. That's the armor, for those that don't happen to know, or just... Because I have to consider that, not everybody plays this game as well, and maybe they're watching and they're just interested in seeing what's going on. Also, I do want to say that this should be, like, the longest of the videos at all, hopefully, and I'm just, my brain is everywhere. I'm trying to explain everything. I have an hour of this, and it's like, I can't exactly focus on this stuff. I also forgot to get that bag later, but anyways, we took out that, that group of elves, nothing too bad, and we're going to take out our first hobo camp, or homeless camp, whatever. Essentially with these guys, they have a couple of bleeding attacks. Like, have a nip, I think actually when it hits you, I think you lose attack, and if I'm not mistaken. It's either you lose attack or you get caused bleeding. But anyway, so there are 7 homeless camps you can take out. This is just for our side quest. I'm going to be doing all the side quests, even Man Bear Pig at the end, so. But yeah, they're weak to Frost, and that one specifically is weak to Shock. There's Drunken Hobo, and then there's, of course, Angry Hobo. And there's usually, like, at least 1 or 2 variants of every type of enemy for the most part. Like, you have the elves and stuff. And I just want to say this game is just great. But, like I said, it's just... I don't really feel like editing that much to, like, slow down and stop every single second of every single frame to explain every single status, every single enemy. So, for those that care that much about every little detail, at least during my gameplay session, whenever I find a new enemy, I typically like to inspect that new enemy. So that way, it's kind of like the tattle ability of, like, Paper Mario. I want to use that to give you guys a way to see every little detail that you can get out of it, particularly. So, I'm the type of guy that likes to see, like, a full-on explanation of everything, but I'm also the type of guy that just can't really commentate all that. I'm not the best for that, so. And of course, I don't know why I brought this on. I just did. Too lazy to edit it out, so yeah, you have the woman that's just standing in her room naked, and then you open the door and catch her being naked. There's a few jokes like that. And to be honest, I think I've said this in my original playthrough of South Park, my Let's Play channel, but I don't remember who the fuck Pete was, actually. I've watched South Park for years, and I still don't remember who the hell he was. It's been so long. But yeah, I've been watching ever since I was a kid, so... Which is not good, I mean... But, it's the type of thing where you sneak a couple episodes in, that type of thing. You catch it on TV and then you watch it, you're not supposed to, but, hey... Oh well. But yeah, I've grown up loving South Park for ages now. It's one of the cartoons that I definitely love, like SpongeBob, Beavis and Butthead, Aqua Teen, that type of stuff. So, Space Ghost. My humor is relatively obvious, if, you know, judging by the fact that I love South Park a lot. Like, newer season stuff, I'm not really a big fan of. But it's mostly, like, the older seasons, especially, like, the way older seasons, like 1 through 5. And mainly, like, I'd say, like, season 1 through 10 is probably, like, some of my favorite seasons. Especially season 8 with Mel Gibson. That was a funny one. But yeah, I'm not gonna remember every little joke and every little detail because, I mean, this show is so big and expansive that I've kind of forgotten about most of it. But you'll probably hear me chuckle every once in a while because this game is quite funny. And when I played it the first time, oh my god, it was gut busting laugh out loud type humor for me. So I don't know why I'm talking about this on a guide, but like there's pretty much just nothing going on. I don't know exactly what to say. I'm running out of things. But yeah, I got the. Speaking of little funny things, you saw that it picked up the wild wacky action bike there. So, but yeah, that's the thing too. For those that don't know, is you pick up junk in this game, and you can use that junk to sell at stores. And with that, you can basically just get money out of it. It's nice, essentially free money. I do find it annoying that you get so much junk to the point where it's so ridiculous. There is an achievement or / trophy for not selling any of your junk at all through the entire game. And I think you actually can get like a full platinum run of this game if you're going for it, or a full achievement run in like one good run, because like most of the achievements / trophies aren't really too hard. But yeah, here we go. We're gonna go save Annie, and then these are just the bully girls whose names I don't really remember or recall or even think I ever heard before. But I think they've appeared before in South Park. But like you see that's where my brain is starting to fall out, is because, you know, I've seen so much of this crap that I've just kind of forgotten most of everything. But I have a lot of favorite episodes, of course. I don't know if I'll be talking about them too much in this guide specifically, but yeah. My brain is it's just not good right now. I know, I'm going to be complaining about that probably a lot for this video, but it's just what happens. Also, bonus holy damage is essentially just kosher damage. And it's relatively good against, like, Nazi zombie type enemies. Because, of course. And, yeah, it pretty much just only works as, like, an element type thing. It's not, it's an element, but it's not an element you can really necessarily use. Like, Butters and Kyle are probably, like, the only two I can think of that do it. I'm not exactly sure why Butters has holy damage, even though it's technically sort of like a pseudo kosher damage. But, I mean, I guess because, like, he's a paladin, so, and he's a nice kid. Maybe they just gave him holy. I don't know. As far as I'm aware, the status part of it, I think, actually calls it kosher. Or at least I think, yeah, because, like, Nazi zombies are weak to holy. And kosher is essentially holy. So I think they are considered two different things, but they pretty much just act sort of like the same thing. And I'm pretty sure Butter's the only one that has holy damage, if I'm not mistaken. Also, another thing I want to talk about is, in this playthrough, when you're doing the school part, the second time, the second dungeon of the school, when you had to pick sides, I do end up picking Kyle's team first, and then I go, and when you're finally going to pick exactly who you want to run with, I pick Kyle again. So, that's the type of run I'm going with. It was a different run than normal, because normally I'm going with Cartman's side of things, because Cartman typically has, like, the better suited buddies. Because Kyle's buddies, except for Kyle himself, are relatively kind of weak. Jimmy, you know, he's a bard. He has, like, status abilities and stuff like that, but he's not necessarily something I would say is too crazy. He's not a good damage character, and he doesn't really have enough of the buff stuff to help him out. His other ability that's not magic related, his let's just call it a buddy ability, I guess. It allows him to give you, I think, like 6 PP. So, not regenerate, but, you know, it just gives you kind of like a PP heal from that. It's not technically a heal because we're not necessarily healing. So, I kind of just let that one slide, so whatever. I mean, yeah, I guess you could argue, like, oh, well, you healed your PP, so therefore that's cheating, but I wasn't using an item to heal my PP, because that's usually the only way to heal your PP is with items, or at least using Jimmy's, you know, other ability, but like I said, it doesn't really, for me, it doesn't really necessarily count, because, I don't know, I just semantics. I didn't really think about it when I was doing this playthrough at all. I actually just now thought of, you know, what if I didn't do like a, what if I didn't get my PP back? Then that would definitely make it quite hard, because having PP regenerate or just at least come back through, you know, certain abilities and stuff definitely makes the game a slight bit easier. However, your buddy's abilities don't actually get PP back. They actually get PP back from using items, so if you guys count it as healing, then, I mean, I'd suggest doing your own run and trying it out yourself instead, because it's too late to go back, and I just don't care enough. As long as, like I said, as long as the green numbers don't come up, then it's not really healing for me, so. And like I said, I didn't think that far ahead. I'm kind of dumb. Alright, so Rabid Rats, they're really weak. 40 HP, nothing big. Drunken Hobo again, he's weak to Frost. We don't actually have Frost, but the Mage itself can't. Oh, real quick, I'm going to mute my mic real quick. Sorry about that. Whenever I have to, like, cough or whatever, I'll just mute my mic because it'd be annoying. So yeah, Hammer of Storms attacks, of course, you know, like I said, in a row. It's a pretty good, slight AoE attack. Nothing big. So yeah, Jacked Up gives him a little bit of healing. He doesn't get to attack that turn. It actually does waste his turn, thank God. Because typically in this game, when an enemy heals or uses shields, they typically still get their turn, regardless. And luckily for him, he doesn't get it, but he gets attacked up. You can tell when an enemy is attacked up, too, by looking at their weapon. If it's starting to glow red, then that's a good sign that they have pretty much attack up. And attack up sucks. Mainly whenever it's somebody else that has it. Not necessarily when you have it, of course. So that's the other homeless camp. There's like 7. There's I think 3 in the sewers. And I won't count the sewers as its own separate dungeon, by the way. So we'll be doing that in, I think, like day 2 or day 3 or whatever. And I'll be calling these titles by, like, day. And then I'll be, after I call it, like, day 1. Like, for this episode, it's like day 1, new kid in school. Or new kid in town, sorry. And then, like, the second episode will be, like, day 1, attack the school. You know, that type of thing. Because the school counts as a dungeon. So, I don't know. I have a very specific way of doing things. Just leave me alone. Let me just do the things that I want to do. But yeah, I won't be collecting everything because I actually think I forgot to do that, the gnome thing, because I was tired. I wanted this damn thing over with. So I was just, you know, trudging through as far and fast as I possibly could. And I was doing all this recording, like, pretty much as soon as I got home, like, on Thursday at, like, 6 or 7 or whatever. So, yeah, I was, I stayed up till, like, 3 o'clock in the morning recording this entire thing. Also, the reason why I let Mr. Slave talk was not just because I like Mr. Slave, but, I mean, I do. It's just that I've never really remembered what he said there, because I usually have his package before I give it to him. And that's the cool thing about this game, though, too, is you can sort of do, like, a pseudo, you know, side quest thing where you can do your side quest stuff before you actually activate the side quest. So it's really cool. You don't actually have to activate the side quest most of the time, except for like something like this. So the kindergartners, I think there's what, 6 or 7 of them? I think there's 6. There's one in the sewer, there's one at the farm, there's one at Stark's Pond, there's one in like, it's not the post office, it's something else. It's like around the post office, I believe. Oh, I don't remember where it was. Inflict more damage to stun targets. Okay, so that's a... Oh! I guess I'm going for melee damage, do more melee damage, so there you go. I mean, I am playing that type of class that does specifically work well with, like, melee type stuff. Also, I talked to Ike because I thought for a second that I could just get him as a friend, but then immediately right after I remembered, oh, wait a minute, you get him as a friend in the last dungeon, so, yeah. It's going to be a while. I think it's, what, 110 friends gives you all the perks. Like, you can't get every single perk. However, you know, you can only get, like, a certain amount. But I think it's up to, like, 110 friends is when, like, that. I think that's the last time you can get a perk, specifically. And if I'm not mistaken, there's, like, either, like, 115 or maybe even, like, 120 friends throughout this game in general, so... I have done all that stuff before in my own playthroughs, but I won't be doing it here. And now we have our next homeless camp, I believe, unless this counts as just a one hobo. I don't think it does. This is the crazy hobo, he's weak to shock. And then eventually we're going to go inside of Kenny's garage, and we're going to be fighting off the meth heads. And I think there's like a couple of them that are actually weak to shock as well. So here we go. I think that's the first time I actually used Hammer of Justice, right? So pissed off essentially is enraged. They can't use abilities, they can only do attack. So if anybody's actually familiar with, you know, other types of RPGs, then that's practically what it is. It's kind of like, you know, it's enraged, it's berserk, whatever you want to call it. So... since I'm more used to like the SMT Persona type stuff, I think of it like just pretty much just enraged. But yeah, he's stunned for like at least a good turn, maybe even 2. But like you can tell like when they're about to, you know, be unstunned when they just get up. So there we go. We wasted a good amount of turns. Getting stunned sucks, but for the most part, it never really happens to the player character. And that's pretty much what makes this game sort of kind of easy, is because the player character never really gets hit with too much stuff. There is a lot of like debuffs and stuff that will be thrown your way, of course, because this is a relatively good RPG and a relatively and actually, you know, pretty much a normal RPG, but with the South Park flair, which definitely makes things not, I wouldn't say necessarily better. I mean, I like it as a South Park game. I'm not saying like, oh, South Park is just better than RPGs in general. I mean, because I like RPGs, you know. It's not that it's because of South Park, it's just like South Park makes it funny, so, you know, that helps out. And it's actually just surprisingly a well-fitting type of combination. It's essentially the same type of thing where you have, you know, Kingdom Hearts, where you have Final Fantasy and Disney mixed together, and it's a relatively good combination of the two. Until they just start snuffing out Final Fantasy and just say, oh, fuck, it's a Disney game now, I guess. So, there's that. But... and yes, I did see the news for Kingdom Hearts 4, and I'm interested. I'm going to keep my hopes not too high. You know, I'm not going to expect the worst, but I'm not going to expect the best. So, we'll see what happens. Mainly because I didn't really like Kingdom Hearts 3 that much. I just thought it was kind of, eh. But that's just my own opinion. And at some point, speaking of Kingdom Hearts, at some point I would like to do Kingdom Hearts 2. I might actually just... I'm thinking about just skipping over all the non-numbered games, because... and by numbered, I'm not counting 358. That counts toward a non-numbered game for me. So, basically the quote-unquote spin-offs, I know that they're still canon, but I just call them spin-offs anyway. So, for those that want to get mad at me, I'm sorry, but yeah. Also, there's our first man-bear-pig sensor thing we get to put down, is of course Kenny's. There's also another one in Stark's Pond. There's one, I think, in the sewers, if I'm mistaken, so... but yeah, I mainly just plan on doing like Kingdom Hearts 1, 2, and then 3. If I ever get to 3, I don't know. We'll see. And then I want to do Kingdom Hearts 2 Proud Mode, and I want to do like Kingdom Hearts 2 Critical Mode as well. So, yeah, Boa Sucking is not bad. It's good against armor, but it's nothing I really use too much, as you'll no doubt see. The Druid Crown, I don't remember if I ever even equipped it, because you have to be like level 4 anyway, just to even equip it. So, for now, it's essentially pointless. Wife Beater, it's not really good. There's nothing good on it for me. I mean, yeah, that's good for anybody that's doing a regular playthrough, but for me, that 5 HP that you get every turn is essentially healing, so I'm not going to bother with it. And like I said, I've talked to death about it already, but the PP thing, just ignore it, just forget it. Just consider it a different type of playthrough, maybe. I don't know. There's the rat poison that Kenny took a long time ago. If I'm not mistaken, wasn't the rat poison used to... wasn't he going to give it to his mom, I think? Or I can't remember exactly, but I thought he was going to give it to his mom so he could, because she was pregnant again. Which, that was a weird one, because in that episode, Kenny hadn't even died yet. It was basically showing off that, like, whenever Kenny dies, he always gets rebirthed as, like, you know, baby Kenny again. And it's just weird how, like, she was already pregnant. So it's like... it's almost like the world knew that Kenny was going to die again. And I can't remember, but I think it was either... I think Kenny either ate the rat poison on accident, or... I don't remember. Kenny's died so many times, it's just hard to keep track of. Like the one where I think he was, like, what, dressed up in a Batman suit, and he autoerotic asphyxiated himself. You know, he tied the rope to the door or whatever it was. But yeah, then we get the fire robes. The fire robes and the fire gloves, they, I think, have the healing effect on them too. Also, to get these guys as your buddies, as like Mr. Tweak and Mrs. Tweak, I think you have to buy something from the store. You have to buy like an actual item, like an actual coffee item. Because later on in the game, when you meet with the Goths, they're gonna have you come back over here to get the dark roast coffee, so that way you can prove to them that you're Goth, of course. So, well, prove to them you're nonconformist and they're Goth. Blah blah blah. And then I think around that time is when I get them as friends, because even if you buy the dark roast, it doesn't count as buying an actual item from them. I think you have to buy a specific speed potion, which of course gives you haste, which I believe was the ability to go again. It's pretty much the opposite of slow, which earlier I said frost, but it's actually slow that I was trying to talk about. So sorry, dumb poo-poo brain. You know how it goes. Up here, of course, is a anal probe sensor, but that's for later. We're not gonna mess with that stuff. Not for a while. We're not gonna do a lot of the gnome stuff either. Because, like, once I get the ability to shrink, I just kind of avoid most of everything I get to do. Here we go. So, yeah, right inside the bank is one of the first kids you can find. I mean, you could go anywhere to find any specific kid, because I think you can find them all in just day one. It doesn't really matter, but that's the first of the 6 that I find. And for me, he's the main kid that I've always just kind of counted him as, like, the main kid, like the leader group of the kid, because I think he's the one you talk to first. I always forget their names. I forget all the kindergartners' names except for, like, you know, of course, Ike. So, of course, there's David Hasselhoff in the background, which you can eventually get. You can eventually get rhinoplasty to become him. So, yeah, look at all this shit. I mean, it's just South Park, and I love that. You know, like, this is the best part is you can read all about that stuff and just look at all the different, you know, sort of like pretty much just jokes that were done. I think even Tony Banderas is a junk item you can get. He was a blow-up doll that Cartman's mom bought, and then Cartman was using it as a toy. Yeah. It's just one of those dumb funny jokes. But yeah, eventually I come back for her later to get her as a friend. You can't right now. You need to have a certain amount of friends to get these friends, and blah blah blah. There's a news office key, which I think the news office key is the thing I was talking about earlier. That whatever building it was called that's near the post office, I can't remember the name of it. But yeah, I was wondering about that because last time I came in here, I saw that I hadn't opened it. I'm like, what the hell? And then I realized it was just an item there. So yeah, now we have to sit through all that crap. We got 20 friends, but now we can buy another perk, and after 5 more, we can buy it. We can get another one. So what did I get? Don't need second wind because that's not for me. Protect my balls, maybe? Or which? I'm trying to think of which one I got. Come on. Come on. Oh, yeah, the last 4 that are locked are magic stuff, so. What did I get? Okay, max PP by 25%? Okay. Yeah, usually for me, personally, that's for every class, especially mage and Jew class, that is absolutely a, not a must, but definitely a pretty good go-to perk upgrade, because having that extra little bit of PP goes a long way. And I think, even though, you know, in all technicality, my class isn't really much of a magic-based class, I feel like magic attacks, or abilities, if you want to call them that, are just really damn good in this game. So having that extra little bit of PP helps, especially since the fact I'm not going to be using a lot of armor, or, you know, not armor, but equipment that really messes with PP stuff. So I think I already talked, yeah, I already talked to Beast Maxie, and now we're on our way. We can't, I'm not going to go to the police station until after, I think, like day 2 or day 3, when essentially the Nazi zombie outbreak starts, because there's a side quest where you can collect, I think, 5 or 6 rings of Nazi zombie rings, or just Nazi rings in general, and I'm just gonna wait until that quest is essentially open. So, also, thank God this game has fast travel. Also, for those that don't know, if you're outside of battle, once you have the mana ability, you can fart. You can cup a spell. You can fart at enemies and gross them out before the battle. You can shoot them with your arrows, and you can stun them before the battle starts. So that way you get a free hit on them. It's nice. It's helpful. I love it. This game is essentially just Paper Mario, kind of, but with a little bit more different stuff going on. But for the most part, it's relatively Paper Mario, and I love that. I just love that. Not the Rochambeau, but I just love the fact that it's essentially just Paper Mario, which is a damn good RPG, though. You know what's funny? I keep saying Paper Mario, but I should be saying Super Mario RPG. That's technically the better way of putting it, but I didn't grow up with a Super Nintendo. I had a 64 and a Genesis, so, and a PlayStation 1 back when I was a young boy. Yeah, so I didn't really have the opportunity to play Super Mario RPG. I have it nowadays because I have it on Wii U, but I didn't have it back then. Yeah, that attack right there sucks because it takes so long for them to actually hit you, and you just can't really catch it off guard. You just have to wait it out, pretty much. You can block pretty much almost every attack. Even the ones that don't show up, like you can block it. You can block it. I don't know if that's just like a problem with my game specifically. I'm also playing this on PS4, for those that are wondering. This game originally came out for like, PS3 and Xbox 360 and all that stuff, and PC, I believe. But right now, I'm playing on PS4. So it doesn't really change too much. Maybe faster load times. I don't know. If I was playing on PS5, maybe. Also, there's no point in turning off the light because you're just going to turn it back on again anyway, so. I don't know why I keep... Hold on. I don't know why I keep talking about like these weird small speedrun strats when I'm not really even speedrunning the game anyway. I'm just trying to play the game. I don't know. I don't know. But yeah, you can do a lot of stuff in day one. Like, a lot of stuff. I mean, in all technicality, I could have spread it out throughout, my playthrough, but I decided to do most, if not everything I possibly can in day one. And I'll be doing the Mongolian boss fight and Mongolian side quest in this day as well. Near the end of this video specifically, and then I'll head to the school. I don't think I get all the kids in day one. I think I get, like, the last one, like, day 2, because I think I forgot about him being at the farm, which is the same one I always forget about. I always forget that he's at the farm. So, he's, like, on the bottom left of, like, the fence. You'll see him when you get there. Another thing, too, is, like, there's just random people around that you don't really interact with, but they just kind of just talk, so. Also, you can collect dye. This is nothing specific to anybody that cares, but I mean, if you do care, then yeah. Dye essentially allows you to, change the colors of your equipment and stuff, but I never mess with that crap. It's just not for me. I'm more, get in, beat the living hell out of everything in sight and what have you. Yeah, one thing for sure is you'll probably never really be that strapped for cash. I mean, if you're running a not selling junk run, then maybe I can see that being possible. But for the most part, you can just hit, these parking meters, and you could hit, like, mail and just get money out of it. I don't know why you get change out of mail, mailboxes. I don't know why. Maybe it's just something that's over my head. Maybe I'm dumb. Maybe I'm too young to understand mail stuff. I have no idea. So, right now, I don't think we can get Jimbo, but I go ahead and buy a weapon for later, I believe. That actually, yeah, I buy the wooden crossbow. This thing sucks ass. At first, I thought it was good because it said perfect attack, destroys shields, it goes through enemies, and I thought, oh, that's a great attack, but you'll see later on when I actually get to use it, it eventually just sucks. So, oh god, I just saw it, St. Peter, I forgot. Oh, what was that about again? Fuck. My South Park trivia memory is leaving me now. I mean, I haven't watched these episodes in like a good while, so. There actually are, I think there are actually episodes I haven't seen yet. I usually like to say that I've seen every episode, but I'm pretty sure I haven't. I mean, to be fair, I haven't seen like the ones that were put on Paramount because I don't have Paramount Plus, so. I haven't seen any of those specials. But yeah, down here, this isn't really necessarily a dungeon, but just more so like a little side quest again. All you do is just fight rats, and the other thing that's great about this game is the fact that you can actually kill enemies outside of battle. So, right here you'll see these beer kegs up here on this box, and what's cool about this is you can just, whack that, Dead. Free 5 XP. Easy. Good lord. 5 XP. And that was a lot of experience points back then, huh? But yeah, speaking of RPGs real quick, I just want to say that the Final Fantasy Pixel remasters on Steam are pretty good. So for those that are curious about like the original Final Fantasies, it's all the way up to 6. If you ever want to get those, I definitely recommend them for those that are interested in like more stricter RPGs. I think they're fun. I think they're good. They give you auto battle, and whenever you auto battle, you get speed up. It's really nice. You know what's funny is I don't know. Who cares if I talk about it? Who gives a shit? So a while back, me and my friend, for years and years, I mean, every once in a while we do this, and we never really finished any of them yet, but essentially, just like fun little things. We used to make RPGs and stuff. I say used to, but I mean, like, we still kind of do, but you know what I mean. We did make, like, small little RPGs. They were never really finished, but our last one that we did, the one that was essentially going to be the absolute one, we stopped doing it because, well, you know, life reasons. Different things happen. Moods change. We move on, blah, 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 you know, that kind of thing. So, basically, Assault and Battery, I think, is something I got from... I may have actually gotten it from this game, but it's an RPG game based on us, like me, my friend, and my brother, and essentially, to put it in perspective, I was the character that essentially was the offensive, like, I wouldn't necessarily say tank, but, like, the offensive class, Berserker class, I guess you could say, where I used HP attacks, and Assault and Battery was one of them, because I used a bat for my weapon and stuff. Well, I could use, you know, blunt weapons or whatever, and then my friend was, he used TP techniques. I think we made him the rogue, or whatever, rogue thief class, what do you want to call it, and then for my brother, he was the paladin class. And that essentially was like MP type stuff. So yeah, the game was kind of like trying to be more so like our type of humor put into one specific game. So, you know, where it's like South Park humor, and at the time really heavily inspired by, but Five Nights at Fuckboys. That was a pretty fun RPG for what it was worth. I like them. They eventually made a like remastered version of it where they updated a lot of stuff. They have like a final mix version of it. It's really nice. Yeah, Assault and Battery, just the ability itself doesn't really seem to do too much. I mean, granted, you could upgrade it and do more damage, but for me personally, it's just for a run like this, getting it to level 5 is pointless because, well, you know, level 4 gives me the ability to get HP back. I don't think it was lifesteal. I don't think it's lifesteal. I think it's just you get HP back. So, you don't actually take the HP, you just get it back. I mean, granted, you're hitting the enemy, so I guess it's technically lifesteal. In some way, shape, or form. Oh yeah, Elven Enforcers, they suck. They're terrible. They usually have, like, attack up with Wrath of the Elves, and I think they actually give that to everybody. Also, if an enemy is dead on the field, they can be revived, by the way. So, if ever you have the chance to attack an enemy that's on the field, whether it be through like an AoE attack or just like a random hitting attack or just an attack that goes through enemies or whatever the case, you can't exactly focus them when they're dead. However, you can attack them with other things that just happen to attack them. So with those, you can attack them and get them off the field and they won't be able to be revived. It doesn't happen all the time, but I think Elven Priests, I don't know why I not slurred my words there. That was weird. I think Elven Priests have the ability to revive. Also, these are the, I forget what they're called, like Mongolian Torgud Korchin. I'm most likely, you know, pronouncing that wrong, but I'm sorry. But, with these guys, they are actually weak to fire. And eventually we're going to get the Mongolian bow. I think that's how it's spelled. I think they, because they call these guys, you know, the Mongolians, but I think they call the bow itself that you get Mongolian. So, just something dumb, just dumb humor, of course. If maybe I'm mistaken, I don't know. Whatever. You'll get up the top of the tower, and we're going to be equipping that bow later because it's going to come real in handy with the Mongolian fight itself. The Mongolians, of course, being a much older episode, where Kimchi, I think that's his name, the guy that owns City Walk or Shitty Walk, he had a thing where he was fighting off the Mongolians, and it was a pretty funny episode. It was like an older episode where he built like a great wall and stuff, and the Mongolians were animated like shit, which I always just that always gets a chuckle out of me. I don't know why, but I love when cartoons do that, where they just have like poorly animated or just terrible budgeted like animation styles just to make things much funnier. You know, that pretty much explains a lot of my humor, I guess. Speaking of other shows I like, I also like Harvey Birdman, so like that's... I know I keep naming off like Adult Swim shows, but that's for the most part like a lot of the shows that I watched. I mean, yeah, I watched a lot of Cartoon Network as well. Like, you know, Johnny Bravo, you know, Courage, Dexter, Ed and Eddie, Chowder at one point when that was coming out. I think I might have mentioned earlier, but SpongeBob was a big one too. I used to, when I was a kid, watch Fairly Odd Parents as well. So, just, yeah, I'm just a cartoon kid. I stopped watching Cartoon Network and all that stuff around like maybe like 2009 when they started doing like a bunch of live action shit. And I just kind of just gave up. And then I started focusing on like Adult Swim until Adult Swim got shitty, and then Adult Swim is now going back to not being shitty. I used to also watch Robot Chicken, but I don't watch it really much anymore. Let's see, terrifies all new red enemies, inflicting defense down for level 3. That's pretty good. But eventually you'll get the ability to gross out like all enemies, and I think it's gross out all enemies, right? I don't remember. It was either gross out all enemies or gross out that one specific enemy. But over here we get another patch. It's either a patch or a strap-on. I think patches are for your body equipment, and I think strap-ons are for weapons and stuff. Yeah, right there I got lucky. I avoided the enemy. If they're starting to target you and you want to actually get a stun off or whatever, just run away, run back, and hit them. There you go. Easy. Yeah, I think I do now have the new bow, so there we go. They'll definitely probably see me use Rochambeau a lot. Oh yeah, that's right. It causes everybody else to have defense down. I think the reason why is because they see you kick somebody in the nuts, and it's just kind of like that sort of like male sympathy or whatever you want to call it, or man sympathy, whatever it's called, where essentially like you see somebody get kicked in the balls and you're like, oh, like you can just feel it too. I think that's probably why they get defense down. And then maybe the gross out comes from the fact of like, you know, you hear like the ball squish or something. Yeah, this is just a problem that my game has where like I try to aim, but then I just use the right stick to kind of finagle it back. I don't know why my games are just broken, okay? I mean, I have this game digitally and still broken as shit. So, it happens. Anyway, next up we have the Mongolian fight, and you'll see a cut probably like right about here. Okay, well, there it is. I don't remember if I equipped anything else, but I'm just trying to find anything possible to equip. And for me, the gas mask isn't really worth it. It's going to be worth on the security guard because you have to use it on a security guard. But the security guard is nothing. I think I actually fight the security guard either I just did before because I kind of lost track of what the fuck we were doing. But yeah, this thing is good against... It has fire, which they're pretty much weak to. Or, well, the Mongolian boss fight, they're not weak to fire, but burning will help. And I'll show you in a second what I'm talking about. Alright, here we go. This is our first boss fight, I believe. So, I go in, first attack, I have gross out, so I try to get gross out. They're not weak to that or anything like that, but this is our first boss, and the thing with bosses is they're immune to stun, sleep, and pissed, just because. So I just find that kind of funny. So luckily for us, we can use Hammer of Justice to ignore armor. I believe it's either ignores armor or it's just good against it. It's one of the two. Yeah, sweet and sour sauce, you don't want to get hit by that because that thing will actually cause burning. It sucks. But as you saw there, gross out basically makes it to where they pretty much just puke every turn and they take damage, which is nice. But yeah, 104 damage and bleeding too, which is great. I mean, that might have just been a strap-on I put on. I don't remember exactly, but the burning does come with the Mongolian bow. It has plus 10 fire. It's great. This thing right here is a little bit, what's the word? It's a little odd because like it makes it look like there's gonna be like 3 or 4 different shots coming down, but that's not the case. By the way, you don't have to do this in day 1. I did in day 1 because why not? Because I'm just a loser. I don't know. I just like that. Also, bonus holy damage, I think, comes regardless if they're weak against holy or not. I think bonus holy damage gives you like 1 extra point of hit, or maybe a couple. So, But it's roughly really good against like the Nazi zombie kind, or just zombie, which in this game they're all Nazi zombies, if I'm not mistaken. So there is that. Also, this place is crashing down, but I don't think there is a time type thing. Like, I don't think there's a timer event for this at all. I think it's just to probably scare you into thinking you need to run away, but you don't really need to, so it's no biggie. Also, I can't believe I recorded like at least a good solid hour of this already without even realizing. There's so much going on, so much to explain, and we have so much of South Park Stick of Truth left to go through. Also, for whenever I get to Fraction Butthole, if I do decide to do it, it will be a different, it'll definitely be a different type of playthrough. I won't probably be as hardball about all the specifics and stuff, so I'll try to explain everything I can if I do get to it, but for the most part, it won't probably be as hardball as this. Because this game has a lot going on for it. It's crazy. There's a lot of stuff to kind of keep track of, but, well, only, like, in battle, you don't really need to keep track of that much stuff. Because, like I said, this game is relatively easy enough to play, so I wouldn't consider it very hard. I mean, the only reason that I could even consider this thing hard, this thing hard in general is because of the fact that I'm playing through a challenge run at the same time. I mean, hiccups. Awesome. Alright, so more damage to stunned enemies. Sorry. Yeah. Hiccups suck. Also, I will be using summons every once in a while. So, I'm not including that in my thing as a no summon run. I don't know. There's a lot of crap. You can do a lot of stuff in this game, but I'm just... Look, I'm just doing those three. I just, you know, let it be. I'm doing hardcore. I'm doing, you know, everything on hardcore. I'm doing no child left behind. I'm doing no healing, no items. And in all technicality, summons don't really count as items because they're not in the items list. They're their own thing. So fuck it, whatever. Fudge it. Who cares? Nobody gives a shit. So anyway, gate security guard. You have to wear the gas mask to fight him. He's not too bad. He's not even a boss. He's actually just a mini boss, if anything. So he's got okay armor, like 20. It's not like great or anything, but you're gonna eventually see. You're gonna eventually later on in the game, you're gonna see people get up to like 300 and like plus. It's ridiculous. So right now, having this 20 armor is not too bad. Also, the one thing I love about Rochambeau is the fact that people will actually play with you. And eventually, when we get to Clyde's dungeon, you can even do it to Chef, and he'll actually play it with you. It's funny. All right, do I equip anything else? Equip anything new? But yeah, with whatever weapon you have on, I always recommend going with at least a status type strap-on, like Gross Out or Fire or Shock or Frost or anything, because status or elemental stuff is great in this game. It's just awesome. Also, I do want to say that I'm not the best type of person with min-maxing this type of stuff, so if you're looking for more of a min-max playthrough, I'd recommend looking at somewhere else because this won't exactly be that. I'll try to min-max the best I can, but I'm not the best at that type of stuff. I'm not that fully knowledgeable in South Park Stick of Truth to know exactly every in and out of every little thing and every little detail and every little number, so I tried looking up on like different Wikipedias and different fandom sites to find out if there's anything I can find, but I found very little, except for maybe people explaining the classes and stuff and all the upgrades that they get. But yeah, I actually was originally thinking about doing a preemptive video on this series to kind of explain everything in one video and then go into playing the game, but who really cares? I mean, it's fine. Everything's good. Also, you don't have to be any specific class to use these types of stuff, which is nice. Oh yeah, I guess I forgot that certain weapons actually come with holy as well, or kosher, or whatever. But yeah, you don't have to be that specific a class to equip certain things. It's just, that's just what's recommended for those types of classes, so don't worry about it. But yeah, those are some pretty damn high up armor, of course, eventually. The con ones, I mean. Of course, you have the, what do they call it? Kingdom of Koopa Keep armor, or, the KKK for short, so, yeah, there's that. Alright, now we got Kenny, and Kenny is actually the least best buddy. He kind of sucks. So, Charm, essentially, I think, distracts enemies. I forgot exactly what it did, but I think it gives him attack down, if I'm not mistaken. Royal Kiss grosses him out. You give him a different type of disease. Furry Friends is his best ability. It allows you to actually do an AoE attack to every enemy, pretty much. And the Unicorn one, I never really, I didn't really use this playthrough because it just, it's okay, but in my opinion, Furry Friends is his best. So yeah, out of all the people that Cartman gets on his team, Kenny is the least greatest. And Butters, in general, even though he's a Cartman partner that you get through Cartman, he is the best ability. He's just the best buddy just in general. Like, in my opinion. For Kyle, you have... Kyle's also really good, and so is Cartman. But those are like boss buddies you get later on in the game. So, we won't see them. Jimmy's okay, but he's not great. Stan is relatively unreliable at most. He's okay at best, but that's it. And then Kenny is... He's okay. He has a passive ability they don't really talk about, where if he was to die, he would actually revive in like 2 or 3 turns. I think it's 2 turns. But I don't think that counts toward the No Child Left Behind thing, but who cares? I never had Kenny out enough to really worry about it, so it's okay. I'm mainly just using Kenny just for the fact of just showing him off. I'm going to try to show off everybody that I can. I don't show off every single ability of theirs, but yeah, it was attack down, so... Yeah, that's just the buddy abilities. I actually considered not using them in like my playthrough. I was like, oh, what if I do like a no buddy ability playthrough too? But I'm like, it doesn't really matter. Who cares? As long as I don't use Butters, it's fine. But yeah, if you don't shake these guys off, Kenny will die and he'll be revived in like 2 turns. But for me personally, that's just like, it counts. Who cares? It counts as a No Child Left Behind. Or I mean, it counts against it. Reflecting, you can't shoot them with arrows. And Repost, you can't hit them with melee. There you go. Just a quick explanation, even though we did the tutorial thing earlier, but, you know, hey, counterattacks are never really that great. You can use mana to counterattack, and it's supposed to do more damage if you have the perk for it, but I don't, so I don't bother with it. But yeah, nice. Defense down and gross out. Usually I recommend going for, like, the armored guys, or at least the archers, because, especially if you have a priest on field, just get rid of the priest, because the priest sucks. Mainly because they revive and they heal, and it's just not fun. But get some, you know, status elements going on the armored enemy. That way you can basically take them out with ease. But anyway, so that's the end of this. We're finally going to head into the second dungeon. That was a whole hour of South Park Stick of Truth. I'm sorry that I was just talking everywhere and at all times and just going crazy. But there's so much going on, so much to explain. So hopefully I'll see you guys in the next video. And this one will get done. And hopefully it won't be too big of a render. But... yeah, next up we'll do the next dungeon, which will be, of course, Attack the School. So anyway, take care, everybody.